Karma versus Scump, Scump versus Formal. Whose side are you on? What impact will these roster changes have? And finally, our players will be able to build their own roster at the end, and I'll decide whose is better. Welcome to Trading Shots. I'm not Rich Campbell. I'm Joe Merk DeLuca. We now have a host on this show who dresses well, who knows Call of Duty. I'm sure you guys are excited about that. You're very much welcome. With me today are Benson and Maven. I'm sure they're happy as well. Let's get this show started. I'm ready to call you guys out on all your BS. It's time for First Blood. As we all know, there is speculation that Optic Gaming will be splitting up. The reasons: poor placing, poor performance, and most importantly, poor chemistry. It's like the real world out there for this team. Karma has been identified as the scapegoat. Scump has been beefing with him. Scump has been beefing with Formal. Both Scump and Karma, they want to come out, they want to say their sides. And then you have Crimsace, who's just sitting out there in the middle. And well, you can already tell for this team, the rift is irreconcilable. So it's face-off between Karma, Formal, Scump. Luckily, as I said, Crim, he's just waiting. We'll have to see. Are you on Team Formal, Team Karma, or Team Scump? Benson, who do you got?
Thanks, Joe. I'm going to go Team Karma for the very simple reason. This is a three-time world champ who has been used as a complete and utter scapegoat. Simple as that. Everyone is kind of pointing the finger, oh, well, he's inconsistent. Oh, look at the numbers. He hasn't been dropping. I mean, there's a lot of pressure. He himself has tweeted out several times. Sometimes the fan base can get to him. It can be very negative at times. But to be used as a scapegoat from this kind of dynasty squad doesn't feel right to me. I think it's very, very unfair. And obviously, Joe, you kind of mentioned, oh, we're going to hear what the players have to say. I cannot wait to hear Karma's side of things because for me, I just think the whole thing has been a little bit unfair. Obviously, we don't know what goes on behind the scenes, so it's very hard to really paint that picture. But as of right now, I feel like the way Karma has kind of been treated so far isn't fair considering his stature.
Oh, Ben, I don't want to agree with you, but I do. I do for a variety of reasons. Now, do I think some of the scapegoat criticism for Karma has been fair? As far as inconsistency, sometimes he'll have, one of the worst KDs at an event. Sometimes he just doesn't shoot straight. He said that to me himself. Yeah, that stuff happens. But the reason I am on Team Karma is because I don't think that's what the core of the problem is. All right, so we all have loved the COD Burner account on Reddit. You've seen a lot of the stuff, and there's been things I haven't been willing to talk about at times just due to friendships with some of the players, stuff that I didn't really...
COD Burner. You're COD Burner.
Yeah, I didn't really feel comfortable talking about, but obviously some stuff has sort of come to light recently with what seems to be this Optic Gaming roster falling apart. I can't confirm everything that was said. I can absolutely confirm that things haven't been good between Scump and Formal in quite some time. I had conversations with these players back to early Infinite Warfare. It's very much an esports twisted version of a Kobe and Shaq scenario. Has it been a fight over whose team it is? Absolutely not. Optic Gaming is Scump's. It always has been. But there was a loss of respect there for like, who's the better player? Do we respect each other? Will I take feedback from you? And it's been going on for a long, long time. Now, when they were winning, it was easy to deal with, and then also Karma wasn't really the scapegoat. But once you start losing, problems like that compound and build and build and build, and it's got to a point, you heard me say in a previous show, I'm worried things are broken. This is what I was worried about. Not the ability of this team. They can win with these four players, but the relationship between them is broken, and it starts with Scump and Formal. That's why I'm Team Karma.
All right, you heard it from both our players. If they were to break up, which seems likely is going to happen, where will this team go down in the history books? Maven?
Oh, God. I don't think ultimately that this will change my mind. Now, obviously, will these moments with them falling apart, and I think when truths start to come out about this team and relationships, will a sour taste be left in like fans' mouths? Absolutely. I think without question, especially the fact that they go out on a losing note, like, and granted, we don't know if they're going to change for sure, but I can pretty much tell you, yes, it's going to happen. It has to happen at this point, the way things have evolved now with this team. With them getting a top 16 finish, getting knocked out to LG in a 3-0 fashion around midnight on a Saturday, it's got to hurt it, but still, this team for me is the greatest dynasty of all time, the greatest team of all time. When you look back at Advanced Warfare, Infinite Warfare, and Black Ops 3, and you look at a core of that entire year, this team will be the best team across those titles and the greatest team of all time. It stinks how it's ending, but doesn't change that for me.
You know, Clint, old dynasties, They got to come to an end at some point, right? You look at the dynasties we've had in Call of Duty. I mean, you can maybe make an argument for Freako Impact. That ended in flames, complexity.
3 months.
EG, yeah, I mean, that still, it was a dynasty at the time. You know, you look at what they were the first team to be able to do. EG Call, that didn't end exactly very well. To be honest, I'm getting flashbacks now of the old Nature Optic Gaming era. That's how it feels to me. It seems as if, you know, Karma kind of now being pushed out, that the dynasty is very much coming to an end. We've both been saying it for a while. How long is this squad going to be able to last for? Well, a run of terrible event placements and obviously things not going well internally between the squad. It hasn't ended well. But you look back at the squad, best Call of Duty team of all time? Yeah, I think it's fair to say that. I really do. You look at the era of games they were very successful at and the amazing results. Yes, they had their moments where maybe they didn't win events they were supposed to. You look at a couple of champs there that are thrown in, but still, grand scheme of things, I don't think we're going to see another dynasty quite as good as Optic Gaming.
It definitely is. I played for a very long time, but on a number of different rosters. 3.5 years is a long time, but now it's time to give away some points after that segment. Clint, I'm going to give you 3. Ben, I'm going to give you 2. The reason I'm going to give Clint 1 extra bonus point is because he said it. Scump and Formal, that's the reason, right? Like, these guys aren't even getting on and practicing. I think that's where you guys both missed out as well. You have to talk about pre-Seattle. Krim saying, we shouldn't even come to this event. We lose in the finals of Stage 1 playoffs. We don't even go home and practice. That is a big no-no. That is a preview of why I think that this team is going to break up. I mean, it's just it. You have to practice, especially coming that close after winning Stage 1. All right, time to move on to Quickscope. Roster Mania Part 2. It has the potential to be crazier than the first one prior to CWL Seattle. At least that's the way it's shaping up to be. Since we were just talking about Optic, I say we stick with that team. As we discussed before, they're making a change. But the question is, Maven, how does this change impact the squad?
Oh, God. All right. So we don't have anything confirmed yet. Obviously, nothing's gone through League Ops. Could that change before the show goes live? Who the hell knows? But it seems there's still a lot in the works. One thing that I feel pretty certain of, Formal will be off this team. This is Scump's team. It has been his team. I've talked about in the previous section how they have bumped heads a lot. I've been out with him at times, you know, at a bar, at a restaurant afterwards. You know, Formal's off hanging out with his girlfriend. The other 3 are together. He's become the scapegoat kind of at times, along with Karma. So I think he is absolutely off this team. Where it gets a little bit trickier, so obviously we had the COD burner leak, which I can confirm some of it's true, not necessarily all of it, but I have heard that they were trying to go after John and Octane. But what I think becomes interesting here is Karma's sort of, I guess, in a dilemma with regards to all of this, because if you think about it, like, think if you did that trade. If you went Octane and John out to Optic and Karma and Formal out, that LG team makes 0 sense, because you then have Formal, then you have JCap, Slacked, and Karma. JCap, Slack, Karma, that's not really a great slaying trio when you talk about the combination of Flex and SMG. Where does Karma make sense to go? I don't think Rise doesn't want to make a change to bring him on the team. Faze, it doesn't really make sense to me. Karma doesn't necessarily fit into any of these top teams for me. So a big question when you're thinking about all the trades and all the possibilities, like, where does Karma go is where I'm confused about if he ultimately comes off the roster. But the only thing I'm really sure of with Optic right now is I am positive inside that they are absolutely making a change. And then the trickle-down effect begins, and I think that's what we're going to start to highlight more and more, Ben.
I have one thing to mention. Obviously, you say, where would Karma go? Would he work with JCap? Guaranteed COD Champs final, is it not? You look at those 2 players, I mean, maybe some magic could happen.
It's a weird roster, though,
right?
Very
weird, very weird. But, I mean, you talk about what changes could happen. Scump, you kind of touched on it. Kind of Optic Gaming is his brand now, if you will. He's the captain of that squad.
It's been his team, yeah.
He's not going anywhere. Krim, doubtful. Don't think he's going to go anywhere either. So you have the other 2 players left. Formal leaving, I feel like it makes sense. Again, that Scump Formal argument we kind of touched about at the very beginning of the show, how they haven't gone on for years. I think this is finally that time where he departs. Where he goes, I don't know, because personally, I'm going to be honest with you, I don't think his stock is as high as it has been in the past year. So I know you're going to disagree with me when I say that, but we haven't seen the Formal-like performance that we've seen for the past 3 years on World War II. That is a fact. I value Slasher, I value Octane, way above I value Formal. So where he goes, I think it comes down to a direct trade. I think it has to be AR for AR.
See, if I went personally, for me, now I'm curious what Joe thinks, but if I went, let's just say it was a 1-person trade, Formal and Octane swap. I actually feel good about that trade on both sides of it. One, because if you're willing to do that trade, and maybe the reason we saw LG struggle a little bit in the past, let's say that was already on the radar, which we've heard talks of this may have started even before playoffs. So if these talks were in the works, maybe Octane's not on his game, he's thinking about leaving. And if there was one person, if I was a Scump, a Crim, whoever, that I would not want to play if I were removed from a team, it is Formal. A lot of you guys see him as like this loving, happy, great guy. Oh, that is not the Formal that I knew back in the Halo days. Like, he is going to want to destroy Optic Gaming. I think if that was the trade, I feel good about it if I was LG. I feel good about it if I was Optic. I think that's kind of a win-win, actually, personally.
I'm not with you on that. I think in that case, I think Optic Gaming wins the trade. I think you got Octane, who this year at least has been more valuable. You talk about future.
Formal's been back and forth, though, in the AR. Who's been the best AR the last 3 years?
The last 3 years?
Overall, if you pick that 3-year window.
What game are we playing?
No, I'm saying.
All right, but what game are we playing
now? Listen to me. If you pick the 3-year window, who's been the best AR like in the history of COD for the most part? It has been Formal.
You can say Formal, but we're not playing a game for the past 3 years, Clint.
Bro, he brought
wake up. We're playing a new game. We're playing World War II. It's a brand new game.
Bro, he had like, what did he have? Did he have the number one KD? He had the number one KD when you take a look.
His stock is not high as it used to be.
Maybe not, but like it's like a sliver. It's like a sliver.
I'd
be fine with that trade.
I value Octane more. But the question.
I get that. No, that's fair. That's fair. But I think I'd be okay with this trade.
The big question for me is, where does Karma go?
No, that is. I have no idea. I have no clue.
I'm lost for. I think him and Jacob on the same team. COD Champs final.
That's the big questions. Where does Karma go? I think I agree with you guys, right? The 1-for-1 trade, Formal and Octane. I think that both teams would be happy. For Luminosity, you get a pumped up Formal. Clinton, you hit the nail on the head. Very scary. But Ben, also, Octane has been the rival to Formal. As soon as Formal last year, when he was dominating Infinite Warfare, he wanted to play Octane as much as possible in 8s. He was the only guy that could give them a challenge. The only guy that could challenge 1v1 gunfights against Formal. Plus, again, you get that sort of honeymoon period coming from Optic Gaming, right? Scump wants to hang out with his teammates. After the events, Octane's a guy that he can hang out with, have a good time with. I'm both going to give you guys 2 points for that one, just because, again, so much Optic Gaming, you have to go back and forth. But now we're going to get into a juicier one. Luminosity. This is another team who, once again, you just talked about it. This is a squad that has been really tied into these rumors. What impact will a team change have on the rest of their season?
I think it's an interesting one. I really do. You look at the likes of John, who for me has been one of the best SMG players. He's just electrifying to watch sometimes, especially, you see him on Valkyrie, you see him in Search and Destroy, London Docks, how versatile he is, his sniping, his aggression that you get to see. He has a lot of stock in my mind. He really does, which is why I think, Clint, you obviously mentioned that two-way trade that could potentially have come through.
Well, that was the rumored one
and
we
John.
saw,
Yeah. That was the big rumor, and I'm sat there thinking, okay, that's a good trade. Like, if you're up to gaming, you're happy with that trade. You're getting John as well.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, if LG lose John, what do they then have to do? You're looking to fill the boots of a very, very talented SMG player. I mean, there's not many that can fill that role. I mean, you look at maybe Zuma, maybe an Attach comes into play, maybe a Kenny from TK. I think if he was to kind of depart, it's tough to fill those shoes. And obviously, we mentioned Karma. Does he fit in the LG squad? I don't think he does. I really don't. I don't think it's a good fit for the squad. It's just, what would you do to replace John if John did leave? Now, obviously, we don't know if John is staying or John is leaving. The one-to-one trade, though, I think that ultimately makes the most sense for LG. I wouldn't really tinker with much else.
I tend to agree with you from the sense that, yeah, if it's a 1-for-1, you feel kind of good about it. How else could they upgrade, like, if they wanted to? Let's say, and again, just to clarify, we are not sure what's going to happen. It's just we're trying to talk through what kind of makes sense and based on the rumors that we've seen. But if the Octane and Formal deal does happen and they wanted to improve, where does it come from? Because, I mean, you don't replace John. He's one of the best players in the game. Absolutely not. Cap, I think, has been a very strong flex. The only upgrades you could really look at for, like, let's just lump him and Slack together, because those would be the two you think about dealing. God, maybe somebody like a Zuma from Faze or a Gunless from Rise. I don't think these are going to happen. I'm just trying to speak out loud. Like, those are the only upgrades you would make. So I think you kind of just sit pretty if that's the deal. Because I think we talked about Nameless and I on the previous show. Like, what teams do we think are going to make changes they don't need to? And LG and Optic are the two that popped up. Like, they didn't have to make changes from a talent perspective. It was at their core there was something broken. For LG, they may not have a choice. I don't think they should have changed. I don't think they necessarily wanted to change. I think they're going to have to change. And if it ends up being a 1-for-1, you're good. If you want to search beyond that, I don't know. Like Kenny, Zuma, Gunless come to mind, but can you get any of those guys?
I don't think it's worth it. I think that's the key, right? It's not worth making a change.
I think they can win tournaments if they have Formal just in place of Octane. I still think they're capable of continuous top 3s and winning tournaments. Absolutely.
Is continuous top 3s good enough, though? That's a big question.
No, it's true.
I'm going to be honest with you, Clint. I'm going to give a bonus point here to Ben. I'm going to give him 2 points.
What?
1 point to Clint. The reason is it's because you list out. You were going the extra mile. You said, this is it. If you're Luminosity, how do you solidify yourself as the best team in the game? I don't really think they can do it. They can do it. You're forgetting about Formal and Gunless. That relationship that those two players have. Do you replace JCap? Maybe not. Do you replace JCap for Gunless? Absolutely.
Yes.
Solidify yourself as the best team. Go after that world championship.
I agree with you. And like I guess I'd go further down that rabbit hole if Rise hadn't just won the tournament. And maybe it's possible, but with Rise winning, I find it so hard to believe that the Gunless thing may still come into play. As soon as they won, it kind of went out the window with Optic for me, and it kind of went out the window, period. They look so good.
But
yes, if you could get Gunless, any team, if you can get Gunless, even if you're competing in a different esport, you take Gunless. Like, he's been that good. He's incredible.
One thing that's true across time in Call of Duty esports, when Rostermania comes around and Optic Gaming make a change, everything is up for debate. Every player will make a move if they need to. It's nuts.
Imagine if it was, if it was Formal, John, Slacked, Gunless, okay.
That's a team you think is winning for the rest of the year.
Have fun.
That's just it. But as you guys both said, I have to agree. John just so important to that Luminosity roster. I think that's big for them to hang on to him. But this next team, this is an interesting one. From winning Stage 1 playoffs to getting top 12, we have to talk about FaZe. They avoided a team chase prior to CWL Seattle thanks to that win at Stage 1 playoffs. But it seems like they may not stick together for further longer. What impact will a change have for this team?
I think this is interesting because FaZe is a team that's been, we talked about before Stage 1. I mentioned that I thought they needed a change. I thought about the fact, I was trying to think about the entire thing. Like whether or not swapping replays out for Slasher when he was available made sense, or if the Zuma attached duo had run their course and maybe they make a change. I said both those things. A lot of people thought I was crazy. And if it wasn't for the Optic changes and maybe LG changes coming, FaZe would probably stay the same. But, I mentioned Zuma previously because he's a really hot commodity right now. His stock has been very high in the past, but it might be higher right now than it's ever been. And teams are going to go after him. So will this FaZe roster maybe fall victim to sort of that domino effect, that trickle-down effect that's going to happen if Optic Gaming makes a change? I think they absolutely will. What would I target here? I'm still kind of torn, but I guess I still think, for me, you can get a minor upgraded AR. I think Replays has been strong, but if you can get a Slasher, Octane, Formal, or Methods, those are the 4 guys that I would try to take, and I think you improve this team.
I could not disagree with you more.
Okay.
Replays is a permanent part of that squad and should be. You should not look to upgrade their AR department. It's just unnecessary. It doesn't need to happen. Where it's interesting, though, you bring up the point about Zuma. If I'm FaZe management, I am holding on to him. I am not letting him go anywhere. He has proven again and again and again just how talented he is, not only just for the rest of this year, but for future Call of Duties as well. You want to make sure he really is a part of that Faze Clan organization going forward, that's for sure. You look at upgrades, how do you upgrade the squad? For me, I don't think there's much you can do. Priester has been phenomenal all year long. He came into the game and everyone kind of had a question mark over Priester. FaZe make that trade and you're thinking, ooh, not too sure about that one. Well, guess what? He's proven to be very, very talented throughout the year and keeps on showing signs of improvement. I think the only way you can upgrade that squad, if you really had to, bear in mind, this is our Stage 1 champs we're talking about here, who kind of went through a double best of 5, if you will. Like, it's weird to even consider these guys making a change.
And some luck. Let's talk about that luck in the first series. Yeah,
a little bit of help.
A little
bit of help does come through, but it is worth mentioning. There are Stage 1 champs. Yes. End of the day, they won the biggest tournament of the year so far. They were consistent, probably one of the more consistent squads throughout the regular stage as well. Let's not forget that. It's just their open events have kind of been all over the place. So you're looking to improve them consistent-wise. That's been the key. And I mean, you look at FaZe over the years, I think it's the duo, Zuma attach. I think maybe it's time. If you were to make a change, I think that's where the change comes from. I think you leave replays and maybe attach goes elsewhere. How high is his stock right now, though? That's the question.
Well, see, Ben, you mentioned, like, how do they improve? I don't think FaZe right now, and I don't know for sure, because I'm not obviously in the inner workings of the contract, mumbo-jumbo,
right,
with different owners and stuff, but I don't know if this is a spot where FaZe is looking to improve, or FaZe is looking to hold on to what players they have and hope they don't get poached by other teams.
Agreed. I think it's
that's where I think it's at. So I think best case scenario, if you're FaZe, like, you hope you get to keep this same squad, because I got to think, depending on how this all breaks down with Optic, and then from that, is anyone safe when Optic Gaming comes a knocking?
No.
I don't know.
Definitely not. So we'll have to see what happens with Faze. One part I think you guys both missed, Priesta. I feel like he is a key component to this roster.
Priesta.
When? When did you say Priesta?
I said Priesta.
That is a guy who has...
with a big question mark and has been phenomenal for the rest of the year. He's proven himself.
He definitely has, but nobody's talking about picking him up from that Faze roster. That's a guy that any of these teams can go out. When you talk about how important that flex role is throughout this year, you have guys like Gunless, you have guys like Jacob. Priest has been there for Faze. Maybe he is a candidate for some of these top teams. We'll have to wait and find out. In terms of points, I'm going to give 2 to Benson, 1 to Maven. Just going to go with it. I feel like Benny said it. I feel like Zuma.
I love Joe.
Where's Rich Campbell?
Listen,
Rich Campbell,
guys.
let's get back in the show.
Deduct some points.
Listen, this is the thing. They were consistent throughout the stage. They won Stage 1 playoffs. But throughout the years, even in the prior years, who have been the key components for this Faze roster? It's been Attach and Zuma. And I feel like that's where the inconsistencies come out from, whether it's their attitude when they play on a side stage or their attitude when they play on a main stage. It seems like those two play down to their opponents, and that's where their inconsistencies come from. All right, it is time for our last segment of the day, Grand Finals. Speaking of rosters, we here at Trading Shots thought it'd be a great idea to get in on roster media. Decided it'd be fun for our players, Benson and Maven, to come up with their own squad. The rules are simple. Pick an org. Pick your 4 players to represent. Any 4 out of the whole world. Then you got to convince me why your team is better than your opponents. Let's get started. Benson, which roster do you have for me?
Woo! This is a hard question because we're basically.
This is easy, Ben.
No, it's difficult because there's two different ways of approaching this. Are we thinking I'm trying to win World War II champs? Or are we thinking I'm trying to build a dynasty for the rest of the year? Clint, you're probably going to go the dynasty
I'm building the
route.
dynasty, absolutely.
Now, hey, just remember though, guys, how long is a dynasty lasting, right?
I'm building a team that's going to win forever.
There is that champ's curse, and well, it might have hit Optic Gaming this year.
Clint thought Envy was going to be a dynasty, so there's that. Have to let you know every time. All right, so I'm going to start with first player, best AR, period, for me, Slasher. I think you're an idiot if you don't have Slasher on your team in current form. There was a lot of question marks. How's he going to do with Rise?
Won't be on my team.
Well, then I think you're an idiot.
Good, Ben.
We had questions about Rise and whether, are they going to argue? Well, they were really put to the test. They go to losers round 1. If there's a time you're going to argue and there's a time you're going to butt heads, it's losers bracket round 1 after a terrible, terrible pool play performance. Well, guess what? They won the event. So for me, Slasher, hands down. Second player, you must be truly stupid if you don't have in your team, Clint, is Gunless. There's no argument. Gunless is just incredible. It's funny because we kind of saw the increase in playstyle, the increase in just the sheer ability throughout the Pro League, and we said, oh, it's about this time in IW where he really came in and kind of took the title of best player in the world. I think we're here again where you can make the argument best player in the world. He's been phenomenal statistically, decision-making wise. I think he's a great teammate as well, which always helps. Third player, I'm going to go after Zuma. Kind of talked about him a little bit with Faze Clan, one of the best submachine gun players in the game right now, period. I think he's a hot commodity. Any team is lucky to have him on the squad. And for me, Faze needs to keep hold of him, but he would definitely be an addition to my squad. Last player, I think I'd go for Crim6. I do. I think Crim is kind of the extra component that those core 3 players would need to really push them over the edge to be a championship winning squad. We're talking about the most successful Call of Duty player. I mean, this guy's insane. You look at his placement average coming into the year, I think it was 2.5. It's nutty to consider how well Crim has played in Call of Duty. He changed the scope of Call of Duty after joining the community and the scene. So for me, I think I'd give him the captain's armband.
All right, Ben. So you went with Gunless, Slasher, Zuma, and Crim. Not a bad squad. Maven, your turn.
My team is very different. So I don't know how people here play fantasy football. I'm a dynasty fantasy football type of guy. So basically the way that is, you draft people out of college, you build a team, it's full keeper. It's for the long haul. You have your team forever and basically draft college rookies. So I always build from youth. You want to pick young receivers, people you think you're going to have for like 10 years, young running backs. So that's the way I kind of view this. I'm building a team for the future that I think can win for years and years to come. So I'm going to kick it off with probably like the oldest player I'm going to have on my team. It's going to be the greatest AR in the history of Call of Duty.
Shocker!
Formal. He's going to be on my team. Absolutely. There's no way he can't be. He's been the best AR for 3 years. I'm sorry that he switched roles a little bit this year. He's been a better player over that period than Slasher. He's on my squad. After that, the one spot we agree on, Gunless. I think he's been in debate for the best player in the game over the last couple of years. He's young. He's talented. He can fill any role. I don't care if he gets angry at players sometimes. I'll live with that. I like living with that with a Formal on the team versus Slasher on my team more. I don't think they bump heads quite as much. We know they want to be best friends and team in the first place. After that, this is where I go young talent. So in my head, the 3 players I was choosing between were going to be Hook, TJ Haley, and Kenny. For what 2 like 18-year-old superstars I want to flesh out this team and be good for years, I ultimately went TJ and Kenny. Those 2, for me, have just been such absolute beasts this year, and obviously we know previously before they turned 18 the talent they have. We watched TJ and Kenny back in AW. We knew the skill was there. We were just waiting for them to turn 18. Now that they're 18, like these guys are the next generation of superstars. We're talking about your Scumps and Crims right now. It will be your Kenny and TJ in the years to come. That's where my youth comes from. That's my squad. We've got Formal, we've got Gunless, we've got TJ, we've got Kenny. Bam!
I don't think your team's good at all.
All right, Ben, tell me why you think your team's
be
better.
Honest, if our teams went head-to-head right now on main stage, my team is whooping your team's ass 9 times out
Your
of 10.
players are going to be in a hospital after retiring within a year.
I'm winning World War II champs, baby.
Yeah,
Simple,
see, you built
simple
great.
as that.
You built for 3 months.
I built
for forever.
Because dynasties don't last, Clint. What Optic Gaming has done in Call of Duty
I'm building the
Esports
next
is a
Optic
fluke.
Gaming.
We
I'm building the next
both
Optic
agreed.
Gaming, Ben.
We both agreed. We're never going to see that
I
again.
didn't pick an org.
We're never going to see.
I didn't pick an org.
We're probably both going to say the same org, right?
I'm saying Faze Clan.
Faze Clan, I'm going old Optic Gaming. But either way, it doesn't
Old
matter.
Optic.
It doesn't matter. It really doesn't, because what Optic Gaming has done in Call of Duty Esports is a fluke.
My
It's
team
not
would
gonna
beat you
happen
now.
again.
My team would beat you now.
A team staying
and 5 years from now, when your players are like getting their wrists iced because they're so
your
old.
teammates aren't going to stick together.
Oh, yes, they are. Yes, they are. Forwards wanted a team with TJ and Gunless for so long. That team's going to love each other.
I'm sure he has.
They're going to eat
but
breakfast
again,
together. They're all going to live in one house
again,
together,
Clint,
grow old together.
You have to open your eyes.
Ben,
Almost
all right.
You can't
Almost
fight past
isn't as high
3
as it
months.
was.
You European idiot.
All of my predictions have been almost correct throughout the
that's
year.
just-
I've
okay.
had much better predictions than you.
You've won 2 episodes out of 12.
Yeah, because we had Rich Campbell as a host. Let that sink in.
Oh, God.
All right, I'm going to be honest with you guys. I have some nitpicking to do.
Oh, God.
Ben, there is no way Slasher, Crim, and Gunless could ever team with one another without killing each other. That team
We said
would
that about
implode.
Rise.
Hold on. That team would implode easily. They would blow up so quickly. It would be so tough for those guys together. Clint, who is the leader on your squad? Formal is not a vocal guy. Yeah, he did it in Search and Destroy a little bit for Optic, but who is that guy? I feel like both of you are missing key
No,
components.
they're going to be best friends. They're going to lead together.
I
They're going to be a band of brothers.
Completely disagree. I
will
think
say-
your team's missing out on Crim, and I'm going to be honest. Neither of you
Crim's
go
like 36.
Neither of you go with Scump. The guy has been the best submachine gun player for years since I was teaming with him, and now I'm on a show hosting between you two.
I just
numbskulls.
watched Scump kind of blow his team up from the inside, Joe. I don't
I
need
agree.
that on my dynasty.
I agree. I'm with Maven
Well-
on that one. I don't want it.
Negative points to the new host.
Agreed.
Negative points to me. All right, guys. Well, I'm going to go ahead and award a winner. I'm going to give the points to Maven. I just feel like in terms of chemistry-wise, I think this roster would stick
said
together.
that about
Ben,
Rise.
yes, a
We
ton
said
of
that
talent.
about Rise, and
they
they
would
just won
probably
the
win
event.
champs this year, but that team would implode. Go ahead and put on your A40 Astro Gaming headsets because it's now time for the Smack Talk Winner's Circle presented by Astro Gaming. Clint, your 30 seconds starts now.
It's yet another victory here for me, Joe. I think I have like an 80% win rate. It's gotten kind of easy. Nameless last week brought some competition, but sadly I've got Ben back. But I don't want to focus on that. I like easy victories. What I want to, oh, that's almost like the United and EG run through winners bracket. But I want to focus on one other thing. We've got Joe here now. Joe, as my duo in the commentating ring, I love to have you here. Rich couldn't dress. He knew less about Call of Duty than I know calculus. He was just not intelligent whatsoever. He's 3'7". I'm so happy that he's gone. He tells horrific stories. He always has. He's a one-upper, likes to add things on there. Nobody likes those people at all. Joe, you're lovable. You're handsome. And I'm glad that you are going to be part of my life permanently. I cannot wait to grow old with you.
Thank you so much, Clint. I very much appreciate it. Yes, you won this one, but this was a
Jack's
close
gonna be
game,
mad.
right? I think both players, you guys, had a lot of agreements, and I think later on, maybe in future shows, we'll have some more disagreements. It was that last segment that gave Clint the victory, but as you guys know, shots were traded and CWL was debated. We'll be back next week. Thanks for tuning in.